All right, some sparring from Ilia. Sparring with a professional boxer. Okay, so today we are going to be reacting to Ilia Topuria striking because I feel like that's going to be the main factor whenever he does face off against Charles Olivera. And we're going to start now with analyzing and picking up on all the great things that Ilia Topuria is doing in the octagon. But before we go ahead and get started, all I ask is for you guys to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's go ahead and watch Ilia Topuria go to work. Some good body shots there. Damn, those are heavy shots. Okay. The thing that I noticed here off the rib.
Arriba, abajo, boom, boom. Y tengo confianza porque sé lo que.
Good combination. A lot of power shots. Kind of similar to someone like Canelo. Alright, and I did manage to find some more sparring footage for Ilia Topuria. This one's a little bit kind of dated, I will admit to that, but I think that it's very important for us to watch this clip because I definitely do see some interesting things from Ilia Topuria here that I think that are important to know. And we're going to go ahead and react to this very quickly. So his sprawls are very, very good. He knows how to attack his opponents whenever they have their back to the fence or the wall. He knows how to create momentum to get himself into good positions. Every punch is hard and stiff. All right, some sparring from Ilia. Sparring with a professional boxer. A lot of heavy shots. Stiff jab after stiff jab. A lot of activity whenever he backs up his opponents towards the fence. He's building a lot of insurance. A lot of real estate, actually. He just knows how to take space. Center of the octagon.
Da cansada.
Okay, so obviously a lot of these clips are going to be towards Ilia Topuria's good side because I don't think that he would ever upload moments of himself being in a bad spot. So obviously all these highlights are going to just make Ilia Topuria look very, very well. There's some very interesting things that I think he does with his feet that a lot of people just don't take advantage of for whatever reason. Mainly for the fact that he obviously is, for the most part, always fighting in a boxer stance that's very bladed or more bladed than a regular standard MMA stance. Now, when he does fight Charles Oliveira is a tall guy that has a very narrow stance, but it's pretty square. Not Ilia Topuria, but Charles Oliveira's stance kind of reminds me of like a regular Muay Thai stance, right? With a defensive counter punching system where usually you are fighting against a guy like that that does have a square, narrow stance. And I think that attacking Ilia Topuria's base is going to be very rudimentary for Charles Oliveira and something that he should definitely try his best to expose. Is easier said than done. Ilia Topuria does very, very well with buying himself real estate to move his opponents back. Something that I've always mentioned is that Ilia Topuria does his most activity when trying to back up his opponents. He's trying to get them to a position where they're literally forced to move to the left or to the right. They cannot move backwards because they just don't have the ability to room. And Ilia Topuria has always done a very, very good job at knowing how to move his opponents to terrible positions. He did that very, very well against Max Holloway, and he did that very, very well against Alexander Volkanovski. Case in point, he knocked out Volkanovski whenever they were literally right by the fence, and that's not by accident. Charles Oliveira, I mean, not Charles Oliveira, Ilia Topuria is always going to try to challenge his opponents for the center of the ring. And whenever he does win the center of the ring, he is going to try to back his opponents up to the fence, or, in this case, towards the ropes, and try to land a lot of volume from there. And that is where his opponents are pretty much fucked, because Ilia Topuria punches hard than a motherfucker, and that's not all by chance. This is all by design. Beating someone like Ilia Topuria is going to be very, very tough. It's a tough puzzle to crack. I mean, this video here, this clip that I found here, pretty much encompasses everything that I've been saying so far about Ilia Topuria. I think that his style is very simple yet very effective. His macro is very, very key, as well as his micro, like how to move in the octagon to get his opponents to move where he wants them to go, and also what punch to throw, why to throw it, how to throw it. All that is literally in this 14-second clip. In the best way form that I found so far available online. But let's go ahead and watch this clip very, very quickly. Let's not get demonetized. Also, right there, Ilia Topuria, again, doing a lot of most of his work to try to end the fight whenever he has his opponents by the fence. Like I said, that's not by accident. It's just by completely on purpose. He throws the most risky shots in the 50-50 whenever his opponents literally have nowhere else to move but to stand and fight, or try to reposition going left and right. If they try to go forward, obviously Ilia Topuria, good grappler, gonna go for a sprawl, and good luck sprawling against someone like Ilia Topuria, or they move back into the fence and get themselves in an even worse position. So all this is on purpose, right? He's literally forcing his opponents to stand there. And then something very, very interesting here in this clip that a lot of you guys just aren't going to catch, because unless you do a lot of film studying, I don't expect none of you guys to understand the merits of foot positioning. But watch here very, very quickly on Ilia Topuria. He's going to attack his opponent with a lead hook, and then he's going to land square. Right there. Land square. So what does this do? This literally is a position that a lot of fighters get into whenever they're trying to land some power shots. People like Mike Tyson did this. Golovkin does this. Lomachenko does this. It's a very common strategy that a lot of boxers do, and it's kind of interesting that Ilia Topuria does this in a MMA, and he's not the only fighter that does this in MMA. Of course, we got Peter Yan, and I've seen Strickland do some of the same thing, especially whenever he does have his opponents on the fence. This is just a power position. If you're in this position here where you're squared, you are gonna throw some hard ass hooks. This is a position you want to be in. You want to land some hard ass hooks to your opponent. And yep, case in point, there we go, the hook. And here's what I'm talking about, where Ilia Topuria is fighting from the center. He is engaging from the center. He's literally moving his opponents towards the fence, and that's all on purpose. Fighting from the center again, attacking from the center, getting his opponents to the fence. Rinse and repeat. And then that's how he just wins fights. In my opinion, man, if he's able to do this against someone like Charles Oliveira is going to have a rough night. But I think that the best chance that Olivera has against beating someone like Ilia Topuria, in my honest opinion, is to try to attack his base as much as possible. Max Holloway was doing a very good job at this in round one, and I think whenever he did manage to hurt Ilia Topuria went for a takedown early in round one. Like, I'm talking about like within the first 2-3 minutes. And yeah, he held Max Holloway down there for a pretty good while. So I just think that if Charles Oliveira, does a good job at attacking Ilia Topuria's base, because as we all know, Ilia Topuria does have a little bit shorter legs. Even if he does try to retreat, he is going to eat some shots. Just because he's little. I mean, let's just be honest. He does tend to eat a lot of kicks because of his stance, and I feel like that's the best way to land against someone like Ilia Topuria, even if it doesn't land clean. Like, even if you could, manage to get like a toe into his torso, like that's gonna hurt him. But it's gonna be very, very tough. I mean, Ilia Topuria does very, very well fighting from the center. And in my honest opinion, I just don't think that in a macro sense, Ilia Topuria is or not Ilia Topuria, Charles Oliveira is the more dominant fighter. But I think that Charles Oliveira's best chances here is to try to hurt Ilia Topuria, within the first 1 to 3 rounds, attack his base as much as possible to try to win rounds later down the road. Because if he tries this tick for tack type method, I think that it's a very, very dangerous position to find yourself in, especially facing off against someone like Ilia Topuria, who is a fighter that has a very simple style, but is very, very effective from a micro and macro sense, in my honest opinion. But that's pretty much the video, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this. Tomorrow, we are going to be reacting and reviewing Charles Oliveira's best attributes as a striker to see whether or not he has the skill set to beat someone like Ilia Topuria. If you guys don't want to miss that video, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you guys think. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.